Welcome to my very thoughtful world. I want to thank you guys for taking time to watch or listen to my videos. One thing I want to ask first, right off the top, is if you haven't subscribed or liked my videos, will you please do so now? Also, if you're listening on the podcast, I want you to get to the place where you go on and begin to leave comments. Those will really help me out to know what you were listening to, what you enjoy, and what would you like to hear more of. So today I really want to come on and explain to you guys what is a relationship mindset coach. What do I mean when I say that? Here's the thing. The mind is one of the best gifts God has given all of us. It is the thing that separates us from animals. Right? We have the ability to think, and because of what we think, we believe a certain thing. And when you think something long enough, you begin to believe it. And once you believe something, you take action towards what you believe. Here's the thing, many times we don't think about what we're thinking about. We don't challenge the thoughts that are going on in our head. We're not connected to ourselves from our thought life. And so, as a mindset coach, particularly in relationships, I help you begin to think about what you really think about with relationships. Everybody wants to be in love. Most people that I know anyway, want to be in love, want to have a good, healthy, loving relationship, but they are not aware that one, sometimes they just don't know how to, and two, they've never challenged their thoughts or beliefs about relationships and marriage. They've never even taken time to really evaluate what it is they really think and believe. And until you understand that, until you get connected to what it is you think and believe about relationships or about marriage, about men, about women, about this partnership and how it's supposed to work, you will constantly find yourself in major struggle. Because oftentimes we have thoughts and beliefs that are in conflict with one another. And how do you know that until you begin to do the work and begin to evaluate? As a Christian, many times people think that whenever we talk about beliefs, they immediately think Bible, they think religion, they think Jesus. Like that's the extent of what they think when they hear, what do you believe? Well, I believe in Jesus. What do you value? I value family. It's so much deeper than that. Have you ever considered or thought about what did you grow up believing because of the household that you lived in? Not so much what was said to you, not even so much what you verbalized, but what did you see in relationships? Did you grow up in two-parent home? How did your mother talk to your father? How did your father talk to your mother? And then from watching that, unconsciously, you begin to build thoughts and beliefs about the role of women and men to one another. Did you see your dad maybe mistreat your mom? So did somewhere in your heart, in your mind, did you decide that, that must just be the way men are supposed to talk to women? And so therefore you begin to model the behavior that says you think that men can talk to a woman any kind of way. Maybe you think that as long as he provides, then he can talk to women any kind of way. Because if that is the environment you grew up in, where maybe your dad worked very hard and he provided for the family, but he mistreated your mother. If you grew up in that environment without consciously thinking about it, you begin to build thoughts and beliefs about what marriage is, what relationships are, and what a man is, because of that, your living environment as a kid. Have you ever thought to challenge that? Maybe you grew up in a single parent home like I did. And so therefore, I never really saw, as a young person, other than my grandparents, I didn't see how men and women coexist. I didn't know how they operated. I didn't really see firsthand how a husband and wife move together in life. Growing up in my grandmother's house, what I saw was my grandfather was often away working, and my grandmother was the one home, taking care of things in the house. I didn't see them really talk or communicate with each other. I did know sometimes that my grandfather had the money and that my grandmother had to ask for it. Um, but I didn't build my relationship model on that. What I did build my relationship model on was I watched my mom be a single mom. And when her marriage didn't work, she ended it. But I also watched some of my aunties be in marriages that to me seemed toxic. Now, I didn't have that word or that language, but I just knew I didn't want to have those experiences. So growing up, I all my life used to say I never want to be married. My thoughts and belief about marriage was, why would I do that? Because the marriages I saw, maybe it sounds like one or two, but the marriages I saw, they didn't look fun, loving, exciting. Very few of them did I see build things together. But what I did see with a single mom is I had the single mom who said, I'm going to build my own house. So she built her own house. I watched her work sometime 2 and 3 jobs to provide for us. So I knew I was willing to work. I knew I could depend on her. Like my mom, whatever she said she was going to do, she did it. And if the time changed where she couldn't do it, she communicated that. So I knew how to depend on a mom. I didn't know how to depend on a dad. I didn't know how to depend on a man because it wasn't in my house. I didn't see it modeled. Therefore, when I got married, I had a hard time trusting my husband, not because he had done anything that was untrustworthy in the beginning of the relationship. It was because I never seen it. I never seen a man show up and pay bills because I live in a single parent household. So I was always stressing him and asking him, did you pay the bill? Did you pay the bill? Did you pay the bill? He's like, I paid the bill. But that came because I didn't have a model. So over time, after 12 years of marriage, and the marriage that could have easily ended in divorce, my husband and I decided to do the work. And the work meant, okay, he needed a therapist, right? Because we're quick to say what they need. I needed one too. And I went to what was more of a coach than a therapist. And she helped me begin to evaluate the way I saw marriage, the way I thought about relationships, the mental role that I had in my mind about what my husband was supposed to do and what he wasn't supposed to do. There's no right and wrong in it. It's just that it had never been evaluated, had never been challenged. And learning that and discovering that some of the things that I thought was based on fantasy and didn't hold any real content for a good conceptual relationship. And because both Andre and I did this work, we then had to reestablish our marriage. So the first relationship mindset that I had to learn to shift and change was my own. I had to get clear about what was the relationship I was having with me. Was I an honest person with me? Could I trust me? Did I sometimes betray myself? Because I did sometimes. And that sometimes looked like every Monday morning I'm starting a diet. So that's whether we like to think of it or not, that was a small betrayal that I was doing to myself because I wasn't being honest. I wasn't committed to myself. So now, and there were areas in my marriage where I had a hard time committing to because I had problems committing to me. So these are the kind of things that when I work with my client, we begin to work on. What thoughts and beliefs did you bring into the relationship? What thoughts and beliefs do you believe about like money, about health? If you're really honest and if you pay attention to life, there are only 3 major issues that we have problems in our health, in our money, and in our relationships. And here's the crazy thing. Too many of us grow up without any real wisdom in any of those 3 areas. We get so busy about other things that we don't begin to think about what we're thinking about. We are not taught to challenge what we're taught. We're actually, the American education system is set up in such a way that they give us information and we just supposed to take it in and put it back out. No one says to you, take the information, evaluate it, research it, look at it differently. Is it possible that there's a different solution? No, we are taught to receive what they say, like it's all gospel, like it's completely true, and then give it back to them. And we get an A if we give it back to them the same way. The problem with that way of education is we apply that way of thinking to every area of our life. Meaning, you grew up in a household, you see something done a certain way, and you are convinced that this is the right way to do it. How many of you done that? Like, I know I used to. I used to be convinced that the proper way to move in life and to be around people. It's like when I enter a room or whoever enters the room, they supposed to say hello, because I thought this was a universal law. And so the moment, because this is what I was taught in my household, that whoever walks into the room is supposed to say hello. And the moment anyone did that, they will walk into a room and not say hello. In my mind, I judged them. I ridiculed them. I decided that they was worthless, that there was something wrong with them, that they're broken, they don't have manners. Like all of these things were happening in my head until one day I was having this whole like moment at my job because someone walked into my office, and I am, I had a communal office, and I am in my mind just tearing this person down. And the Holy Spirit said, what if their mother didn't teach them what your mother taught you? Here, now I'm being challenged to think differently. Now I'm being challenged to wrestle with something that I hardcore believed. And interesting enough, I just had a conversation with a friend who says, my mother never taught me that when I walk into a room that I'm supposed to say hello. So why do I use that example? How many thoughts and beliefs do you hold on to that you have that goes unchallenged, that you are trying to condition someone else to, or making them wrong in your mind because they don't do it the way you was brought up to do it? Here's the beautiful thing about life and God and the mind is he says you can renew it. You have the ability to renew your mind. You have the ability to learn new ways of thinking and being in relationships, first with yourself, also with God, and then being in new relationship with other people. And when you set your mind to learning new ways, because maybe the way mom did it wasn't the most healthiest way. Maybe the way my parents moved in relationship with each other is not an example that I want. And here's another thing that we learn. Many times we can see something and we think to ourselves, I don't want that. I'm going to do all I can not to be like my parents. But here's the problem. If you do not establish yourself in a set situation where you are being intentional about learning a new method or strategy, you will only do what you only know. So you can not want to do what your parents did. You cannot want to have the relationship that your mom or your dad had. You cannot want to reflect a life that's like everyone else around you because you're like, this doesn't work and I don't like it. But if you do not set intentions, create strategies, hire a coach, read some new books, you will only do what you already know how to do. And I'm sorry to tell you, you can't hope, wish, or pray your way out of that way of thinking. Thinking and renewing your mind is it's a very active, engaging thing that you must do, and you must be willing to show up for, and you must be willing to do the work. So after hearing this, if you're thinking, maybe this is why none of my relationships work. Maybe this is why I'm in marriage, but I don't even like my husband, or I don't even like myself in this marriage, or I know this isn't working the way it should be working, or I don't feel emotionally safe in this environment. It's time for you to get a relationship mindset coach. Now, listen, I would love to work with you. My clients have phenomenal results. If you're interested, go to my website, verythoughtfullife.com, and book a free discovery call. What do you have to lose? I just want to be surrounded by and help create a world of people who are fully alive and awakened to all that God has available to you. And when I tell you he has a good, loving, peaceful, joyful relationship available for you, he really does. But all it takes to get there is you shifting your mindset. Listen, I want to say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. If you're listening on Apple or one of those platforms, I appreciate you so much. Will you do me a favor? Will you share and like this podcast? Will you let your friends know about what's happening in our very, very world? And will you continue to hang out with me? Have a blessed day. Be amazing. And remember, your thoughts create your decisions, and your decisions create your destiny. Make sure you're creating thoughts that create the destiny that you really want. Have a wonderful. Bye-bye.